All right. Well, it's 1 past 12, so let's get started. Right. First of all, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your presence here, to learn a little bit more about channels, functionalities, features of Hostaway dashboard. So today we are going to be covering OTAs, beyond OTAs, right? So how to take advantage of the booking engine and Google Vacation Rental. For those of you that are here for the first time, my name is Andrew. I'm a customer success engineer, solutions engineer here at Hostaway, and I'm responsible for training, adopting best practices, sharing best practices with team, and also with our clients, of course, right? So that everybody can perform better. And we have this office hours every Thursday around the same time. And the objective is always to keep it, right? So, and even before we get started, right? So it is important that everybody knows that this call is being recorded, right? So this webinar, the recording will be shared 24 hours later, right? So tomorrow around this time, you should be receiving a link to watch the webinar, right? So if not, I can show you another place that you can find that on the user guide, but you receive a copy on the email. So there is no need to take notes if you want to watch it later. If you cannot attend to a webinar, I also recommend to register because you will receive the link anyway, right? So for those of you that are not on the time zone, for example, I know that many of you do that, right? This is a practical session, right? So it is encouraged that you ask questions, that we go over that, we check that on the dashboard. So it's not a theoretical one, right? So we're not going to discuss not only that, right? We might discuss, of course, the reason why of some of the things that we are seeing here, but most important is how to get it done, right? So this is our biggest objective here, right? Our main priority. So ask questions, ask where to find things, how to set up things, because this is what we plan to do today. Okay. So as you can see, very practical, not even this slide deck, right? Today we are going to spend our time on the dashboard or on the user guide on ways to get things done, right? I have the dashboard here, but I'm not even going there. Let's save here. I was running some tests so that I could show you a couple of things. But before I get started here, with I'm going here and I'm going to look for Google, right? Instead of creating slides, I'm just going to show you, exactly what you can see, right? So before you ask me where I can find Andrew, so you can see on your dashboard on Need Help, if you click on User Guide, you'll be transferred to that page, right? So, and then here you can search for any article that you're looking for, right? In this case, I was looking for Google Vacation Rental article, and why am I showing you that? Because sometimes, I'm just going over, many things on possibilities, how it could be done and everything, but sometimes it is good to understand that, all right, if you didn't understand everything, or if there were many details, of things that we were talking about, right? You can always come here, and see step by step, on what it takes to get into the channel, right? You see that even though we have several, lines here, with information, it is a very simple process, right? I will start today, instead of starting, for those of you that have already showed up on previous webinars, about Booking Engine and Google Vacation Rental, and I can see that some of you have been here before. I usually start with the Booking Engine because the booking engine is needed in order to get to Google Vacation Rentals, right? But this time I will revert that because sometimes because of the questions, we leave very little time for Google Vacation Rental and we spend most of the time on the booking engine, right? So that's why I'm reversing, the process here, right? And I'm going to start with Google Vacation Rental. So it, as I said, right? So booking engine is necessarily, published and live, right? So you cannot have a Google Vacation Rental if you don't have the booking engine behind, right? So, and why is that, right? So what's the reason behind it? It's because the booking engine is what's pushing all this information, from your account, the way that you want to receive reservations, is the information, the content that is being pushed to Google Vacation Rentals, right? So that's why it's so important, and that's why I usually start with a booking agent, right? But this time I will work in a different way, and we can go back and forth, right? So if you have questions, we can keep going, back and forth until all the questions, have been addressed, right? So uh, it will work if connected, then you have where to go to find that, right? So then we can go to the dashboard, you can go to channel manager, assuming that your booking engine is already set, right? So then we go inside channel manager, you can go to channels from here or from here, and then we see all the channels that we can connect. And then we come here and we can publish the listings, right? So let me go back here. Okay, so let's assume that we have taken care of the booking engine, right? So remember, you need a minimum of 8 images, right? Not only it has to be on the booking engine, but you have to have a minimum of 8 images of your listings, right? So why is that important? So people believe that that's irrelevant. Okay. Most of you that have been in business for a long time, you know that number of photos, they play a very important role, right? So channels like Verbal, Airbnb, they recommend you to have at least 30 images, right? So 8 images, yeah, it is the bare minimum, that you should have of a listing because it is one of the factors that helps the guest, to decide whether they want to book or not, right? So Google requirements, in my opinion, this is the most difficult part, and it's not even rocket science, right? As you can see, it is describing how the logo has to be. And why is that? So this is not Google Business, not Google Maps. This is Google Vacation Rental, right? So what you're promoting as your listing is your brand. So that's why, most of the requirements, the technical requirements, besides having your listing on the booking engine, they're technical about the logo that you will display there, right? And I know that is might seem silly, for some of you, but it is what is required to do, right? So by Google. So what I've done, I don't know about you. I'm not great at creating logos, right? That's not a skill, that I have developed. Thankfully, today we have AI, that can help us with that, right? So I decided to come here, and I just ask AI, and you can see that is not even, like a professional, a paid account, right? So I asked the AI ChatGPT here, follow these instructions. This is the name, and I just copy, not even from here. I went to the dashboard. If you click on settings, you see this, right? So I copied this information. I added this information right after, and I said, follow these instructions and use this name, Blue Lake Cabins, to generate a logo, right? And I pasted, and it created the logo, right? As you can see, it is transparent. Then I downloaded the logo, you know, came here on added here, right? And then I selected the logo that it was created. I just clicked here and open, and it was here, right? So you don't have, you don't even need to hire a designer or anything just to create this logo, right? It is that simple, right? So, and of course, it will follow the instruction, in a very accurate way, right? So chances are that you're not going to miss. And why am I saying that? Most of the cases that I got, feedback from a client that, hey, Andrew, my listing is not published on Google Vacation Rentals yet. What is happening? 90% of the cases, there was an issue with the logo. The logo was not approved, right? So then I recommend you to spend that time here, rather than waiting, because it only takes 2 weeks, up to 2 weeks, and Google will publish your listings, right? But if you wait for 2 weeks just to realize that your logo was inaccurate, right? So yeah, that's a bummer, right? So, and it is a waste of time. You could be receiving reservations, right? And instead, you are going back and forth, and then you open a ticket, someone is helping you, is trying to assist you with that, only to find out that it was the logo, and then you have to create a new logo, right? So I did that. I used, and then I asked ChatGPT to refine, my request and create here a prompt, right? Because I wanted to share with you a prompt, right? So you don't even have to do exactly what I did, I can just share the prompt that I got here, and I will share this in the chat here, and I will also share in an email, that we send tomorrow. Okay. So then you have it, right? In case you're not on Google, vacation rentals. Yeah. Right. So that would be a quick way to get there. And then from here, you don't have to publish each one of them, but you might if you want, right? So if you click on publish all, you will publish all your listings. If you want to publish, just as simple. You can click here, and unpublish all your listings at once. Or you can go one by one, right? That's simple, right? So now with AI, even, the detail phase, right, of having to fine tune the logo, not even that. And of course, if you didn't like the first version, you can always request to regenerate or give more. I didn't even ask for a specific style, right? You can brief ChatGPT, on that, so that's not something that should hold us back, nowadays, right? So already got some questions here. Okay. How do I see? Hi, Nana. Thanks for the question. How do I see my listings? Looks on Google Vacation Rental, right? So this is my test account, right? So that's why I don't have any listing, published, because yeah, of course, I don't want anybody to expect to stay in a place that is not really available, right? So this is only a test one. So if you want to see how your listings look like, you go to listings. And as always, you see in which channel it is connected, right? So if you click on the logo, this one will take to Airbnb, right? If you have Google vacation rental, if I click on website, it's going to the booking engine that I have published, right? If you have Google, you can click on Google and you see your listing the way it's looking published, on the other side. All right. And that works not only for Google, it works for any channel, right? It is a quick shortcut, and you see it as a guest sees the information on the other side. Oh, Manuel, yeah, Manuel and Jeremy, they know this bull that the logo just created has 3 words. Yeah, it cannot have more than 3 letters. That's a good point, right? I haven't tried to upload, but probably yes, that would be an issue, right? Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm going to work a little bit more on the prompt and make sure that this is tested back and forth, so I don't share that with you. Yeah, good point. It's bringing the entire name, so it should only have 3 letters. Apologies. Was trying to expedite here. I thought I had a great idea, but it seems like I still need some fine tuning on the prompt, right, to get it right. But you got the image. Those of you that have skills can do that, on Photoshop or any other software. You don't even need that, right? But like me, without this design skills, yes, then we need. But good point. I'm gonna do it like that, okay? Okay, so now let's go to booking engine a little bit here. All right, so I have some specific cases here. So for specific cases, right? So some of you may ask questions that relate to everyone, right? Some of you might have some very specific cases on your account. For those of you that are on that, uh, I have here a form that you can request additional assistance. And why do we have this form? Because sometimes we have to open your dashboard to see what is going on, or we have to see like the logs to understand. So we might need additional information before I'm able to answer, right? So I can answer, I can give you feedback, on things that are open and it works for everyone, right? Or it is a doubt that everyone has. But if it is specific for your account or something like any specific message like I'm getting here, so I'm sharing here with everyone a link so that you can fill out this form and I can get someone to assist you with that, right? So then they can see your case specifically and understand what is going on, right? So of course, if I'm assuming that you have already opened a ticket, right? So you can always open a ticket here. You can email support. You can take screenshots of things that you're seeing and what you expected to happen, right? But let's say you just need some help because you feel stuck, in part of the process, or would like to talk to someone and would like someone to open your dashboard, right? That's why I always open my test account because I cannot disclose information, from a different client. So that's why I cannot open, anyone that is bringing me some very, very specific case. All right. So, but I will be glad, to have someone assisting you. Like issues with the name, with the logo, with this kind of thing, right? So we have people that can check, back and forth with Google. Yeah, I gone to 2 specific cases. Yes, Manuel, Skylar, please, fill out the form and request someone to assist you, right? You're bringing very, very specific cases, that is do not apply to everyone. All right. I appreciate the questions anyway. All right. And well, for those of you that are not seeing the questions, they're related to very specific cases, that is happening with their listings, with their integration with Google. So now let's check the booking engine. All right. So as you can see, here we have a lot of information, a lot of settings, images that will be shared, the listings that will be shared. So all the content, of Google Vacation Rental will be pushed from here. So not only the content, which is the beginning of the guest journey, right? So seeing the content on Google Vacation Rental, it's also the end of the journey, right? So when your listing is published on Google Vacation Rental, what it happens if the guest, when the guest is seen and they try to book, they will be redirected to the booking engine where they can finish the transaction, right? So Google Vacation Rental is just a display of information, right? So that's why they can display information from other OTAs as well, right? So it's not a channel on its own, right? It is a display. We call it a channel just because it creates the front end, right? Uh, to the gas, right? But all the content, everything resides here. All right. So this this listing here, this booking engine, we have the first part, the design. I'm covering, the booking engine, but I know that all of you either have already seen on onboarding, those of you that have already been onboarded here for a while, and those of you that are still being onboarded, you see, and this is part of the onboarding, right? So if you haven't finished your onboarding yet, you will see that in detail, and someone will assist you with that, right? Same thing. If you have already passed the onboarding, and you're still having some technical issues, with anything, if it is not about configuration, it could be, for example, DNS redirection, because some of the things need to be done outside of Hostaway. If it is related to your domain, for example, right? You may need assistance. In order to do that assistance, sharing the screen makes all the difference, right? Because then some of our agents can guide you on what to do. Let's say, for example, on GoDaddy, right? For example, let's say your domain is there. It will, some set of instructions will apply. If it is on Google, a different set of instructions will apply. The objective is all the same, right? But it's not 100% inside of Hostaway, right? It is partially done outside, and you might need guidance, and that's okay. We are here for that, right? So here's where you can customize the design of your listings. Here is the listing section, and here you can select the listings that will show up. You can select if they will be automatically added here to the booking engine. You can create categories, which are the tags that will be displayed on the front end. And you can add more, right? So it doesn't have to be necessarily only one, but you can have more than one. You can have multiple ones. Right? Then we have pages that you can customize, right? So you can have, for example, if there will always be a preview here that you can see how it looks like, the home page, but I can also add it, right? So then I can modify the title, I can modify the header, I can modify the search bar, for example, right? I can replace the amenities, right? There is a set of amenities that come pre-selected, if you go, when you start using your booking agent, right? You don't have to keep them, right? Maybe they are not the most relevant ones for you. Then you can customize them here. And then you can add text, copy, images, and things like that, right? So, and then you just save for any change that you make. Again, if you want to see a preview, you click on the top of the name, right? And then you'll be able to see how the information is being displayed. Right? Or you can modify it from here. On all listings, it is an important one. I'm always asked if it is possible to modify the order that the listings appear. It is here on all listings. You can click here, right? And you can modify, you can drag and drop the listings and modify the order of the listings, right? And don't forget, right? SEO, meta description. So this is the kind of thing that will help you to get traction on SEO, to be so your listings, your website can be found more easily. About us, then can add. I click here, you can add any information, privacy policy. So we have a template here that you can use. You might customize, you can bring your own. Terms and conditions, same thing. You can adapt, you can use ours, or you can create your own. Same thing, right? So you got the idea, right? So here on reservation confirmation is the landing page where the guest will land once they complete the reservation inquiry, just so the potential guest knows, that the message was sent. You can create a page from scratch here, right? So you can create, let's say, for example, you also, in addition to vacation rental, you also have a real estate business, right? So yes, you can create a page that is unrelated, to short-term rental, or even related to short-term rental, but you want to add a page that is not necessarily e-commerce focused, right? So it could be something else. You want to add more content, you can add any content, right? So, and you can create many more pages. It's not only one, right? So you can create more pages. Here you will define which one of these sections here will appear on the header menu. So you can define here, and here you can define which one of these sections here will appear on the footer menu, right? As you can imagine, you don't have to select all, right? So only the ones that you have selected will be displayed there, right? We got some questions here. Okay, Juan, thank you, Juan, for the question. Well, that's a very good question. Why listings managed under Google Hotels are not displayed on vacation rental, are not displayed on Google Maps, right? Because they're different softwares, right? Even though they belong to Google, they work in completely different ways, right? So if you're talking on Google Maps, you can claim a business, you can say that you own a store, you own a restaurant or something like that, and modify information around you, right? So when we are talking about Google Vacation Rental, it is a different concept, right? So you don't have that control. You have control over the content, which is here in the booking engine, but Google Vacation Rental will just display that information, and there is no overlap, right? Why there is no overlap, between Google Maps and Google Vacation Rental? I don't know, right? So that's something that Google has defined, that way, right? Maybe one day it will, right? I don't know the reason why. Okay, but yeah, it's a very good question and a common question, right? Why? But they work in different ways. You can claim a business on Google Maps. That's not the case, on Google Vacation Rental. And that's another question that I get a lot. Yeah, but why I cannot claim, a short-term rental business on Google Maps? Well, again, that's policy, right? That's Google policy. I don't know the reason why, and but that is their policy, and we have to respect, right? Respect and comply and do the best, again here with Google vacation rental and the rules that were created specifically for this market, right? For your business on short-term rental. Okay, I got another question here from Sylvia. Thanks for the question. Thanks, Sylvia. So, why is the reservation? I'm seeing some reservations from Google Vacation Rentals, but I've seen an increase on booking engine, right? Sometimes, the guests might browse your property on Google Vacation Rental. They might click get closer from closing the purchase, and then they decide not to come back. But maybe they bookmarked, right? Maybe one day, far away, they decide to come back, right? Maybe they have already cleaned their cookies. They are not recognized as someone coming from Google, right? They will be recognized as someone coming from booking engine, right? So if they come and they complete the entire process, it will be processed as a Google Vacation Rental reservation, right? But if they do not finish in the process and of booking, then they may not be identified again, as coming from Google if they came directly to the address. Maybe they saved the address, right? And they came here, right? So yeah, it will not be identified. Okay, do I have to make any adjustments? Yes. So what kind of adjustments need to be done, right? So everything, every automation that you have, right? If we're talking about message automation, not so much, because unless you have removed the other channels, right? They will appear here by default, right? So even Google, right? Unless you removed Google from here, okay, then I recommend to recreate, and keep it here, right? But it could be, for example, on, and I've seen before, that on gas payments, right? On gas payments, on the auto payment, it could be that Google was not selected, for example, right? In that case, if the gas is trying to buy something, they added the credit card, but the card was not charged, right? Even though we had the rule here to charge, this wouldn't even make sense, right? So it was probably a test, right? So that I was running. So it would typically be something like, okay, 100% of the reservation at the moment of the reservation, or maybe, 10% as a deposit, the remaining balance, 30 days, 14 days out before the check-in. But if you don't select Google here, it will not charge the card automatically, right? So I recommend to pay attention to the automations because, yeah, otherwise it will be treated as a channel internally, right? So everything will be, what else? Yeah, I believe those are the most important ones, that you should pay attention, right? But if you come here to reservations, for example, you see Google as one of the channels, right? If they came directly, unless, like the exception that I was mentioning, and I've seen that happening before, someone found out about your listing on Google vacation rental, try to book, stop the booking, maybe ask the question, an inquiry, and then they came back like maybe a month later, and they decided to book as a booking agent, right? Which is good anyway, right? But it's just that you didn't track that information, right? We couldn't track that information, and it is like a booking agent client, right? So that's the only difference, right? But nothing, no harm done, right? But thanks for the question. Okay, Edward is asking me, thanks, Edward. For hosts who have listings in two different geographic areas, is that a best place for how the Google Vacation Rental with different booking agent sites for each geographic area? That's a good point. I don't think so. I don't think so, but I'll think about it, and if I get the answer for that, I believe you would have to select, the only way is to select the one that you have most of your listings, right? So, but I will check that, get back to you, okay? Back. So going back here to the booking agent. So we were seeing pages, right? And how to set up the pages and everything. Then settings. Then we have the basic ones, right? So if you want this icon here to be displayed on the browser tab, here is where you can place it, the main logo. And then we have show map in search results. So most of my clients, they prefer to show the map. Some of my clients prefer not to, right? So listing reviews, I recommend, of course, if you have good reviews, right? But it is expected, you're a professional, so you should have listing reviews. By the way, this is one thing here on the booking agent, right? You allow or not allow, right? I'm already seeing question here. Thanks, Jane. So about the reviews, how does it work? If you allow reviews, it will be displaying reviews, but then you can go individually to the reviews. And then let's say you had a bad one, but it was specifically, one that is you can hide, right? So you can always hide that review. Those are all in the past. Waiting, it was not even published, right? So here, this one, for example, it was published, right? That's again, it's a condition to have it displayed on the booking engine, right? Then we can just click here and say, no, I don't want to display this review here because I don't know, whatever reason, it was not a positive one, or you can just click it here, right? So they're independent, right? Because theoretically, you have the majority of your reviews are going to be good, right? But every now and then, you have a guest that, didn't have good experience, in that case, you might want to hide Tom Petty here, from leaving a review, right? Now, show opt-in for promotional emails in check-in form. All right, so this is when someone is booking here. Say select page not available. This is what we're talking about. Yes, I like to receive exclusive offers and promotions, right? So I always recommend you to do that because it is best practice, right? To ask for permission to communicate. Since we are here, right? So from here, I can add the coupon discount, right? So you can work with the coupons, even though it's not in the booking engine section, it is where you realize that, oh, I could have created, promotional coupon. You can see the breakdown price, this first name for contact and everything. Here I have, payment, address, and additional information. I agree and book now, right? So going back, just why did I get here, right? So show opt-in for promotional emails and in checkout form. And this is include fees and discounts in the nightly price, right? So if you decide to do that, the discounts, additional fees, they get included. Then we can have the language settings. So you can have additional languages, for the booking engine in case you have clients coming from different places, right? So from different countries with different languages, and you can customize the languages that you're using to adapt. For example, I'm in Canada, right? So in Quebec, the French that they speak Quebecois, right? It's a little different, right? So you may adapt the words, the wording to be more consistent with the local culture, right? So that's possible to be done here. And do that now. And then you can manage instant booking. You allow instant bookings, yes. And then let's say when is this important? Let's say, for example, you're a property manager that knows that it is important to use instant bookable because it increases the conversion, right? So you have a much higher chance of getting a reservation if you accept instant booking, if you just accept inquiries, right? Because many guests, they don't like to inquire, right? So when they're looking for a place to stay, they would like to be able to book the place to stay rather than asking questions, if it would be available at the date and then having to wait for an answer back. So you know that this has a huge impact. And the channels, they always say that as well. If you talk to Verb, talk to Airbnb, it will impact, the way that you sell, right? So you sell a lot faster, a lot better if you use this. But if you're a property manager, you might have a property owner that requested not to be on instant book because they are not so sure. They want to check, the background of the guest before accepting the reservation, right? So in this case, it's not a consensus, right? So depending, in this case, you can select just the listings, and leave the exceptions out, right? Maybe I select all, and then I remove maybe this a property owner, that owns PNC, ask you, no, I don't want an instant bookable, I just want a request to book, right? An inquiry. So in that case, that's how you do that, right? If you go like that, then moving forward, even if you bring new listings, then you have to come here and manually select, right? If you just select them all, like that and save, or if you don't touch it at all, the system will understand that every new listing that you add to the dashboard, it is expected to work that way, right? So then if that's not the case, if you're not working with exceptions, then I recommend you to don't even touch it, right? Just turn it on, because that's the best chance that you have, to sell. Display discount code, I just showed you, right? So how to do that? Enable guest checkout without credit card information, right? So sometimes I allow that just because I'm running tests back and forth, right? So this if it is like that, it's because you are allowing them, to check out without credit card, right? So this is how it should be, right? Because then you see the information, just like we saw it here, requesting the credit card, right? So that's what we want. Most of my clients, that's what you want, right? So with few exceptions, it's okay. You accept without the credit card, and then you will negotiate. Maybe you have a bank transfer, or you send the link, or a different way is provided, right? But if you want to streamline your process here, that's the recommended way. Guest provides the credit card, your Stripe is already connected, the card is charged right away. So you got the payment, everything is working, and it is confirmed, right? So right at the moment of the confirmation, everything is happening here, right? All right, let me go over more questions here. David, thanks, David, for the question. How to improve the ranking shown in Google search in order to have gas to see it at the first page? That's a difficult one, right? So what you can do, right? So it's not when I say difficult, just let me put it in context, right? So when you're using like Google Maps or any paid platform, right, that has a integration with Google AdWords, for example, you can increase your bid, for words or for positioning and things like that. And together with the SEO, it will promote on the ranking, right? Because it is a paid ranking, right? Not a Google Vacation Rental. It's not a paid one, right? What I can tell you, from my experience based on clients that were successful, was that having photos, most of the things that we discuss on most channels, right? So having a lot of photos, good quality photos, good content, right? So again, same things that apply, to other listings, to other channels, also work here, right? So content is extremely important, right? Why is that? Because the guest is searching, right? So any and also because we have tools for that, right? So if you go here on the channel specific, for example, right, that we have a lot of content that you can add, information that can be shared, right? Then you have here on basic info, you can use AI to create content, right? So make content that is appealing, make a name, make a name that is this is the external listing name, right? So this is the name that will be published on your booking engine. It will be published on Google VR. Again, right? Pay attention to the name that you're using. Make sure that you use the name. For example, I usually recommend you use the same name across all platforms, right? And the reason for that is because some people they may copy the listing name and go search in different platforms, right? Because maybe they can find first because they may try to book with you, right? And going around the platform, right? For their decision, or maybe because they want to see if any other website is offering a different price. So using the same name, and of course, try to be different with your name, right? Make it exclusive, to you that connects your brand and everything. And so I recommend using the same name, focus on description, photos, very good quality photos, right? Pricing, have a good quality pricing. Why am I saying about pricing? Because the algorithm, on how the properties are ranked, and I'm talking about any channel, right? Talking about Airbnb or booking, they're secrets, right? So they're not disclosed how they work. But some of the things, you know, it is obvious. One of them is conversion, right? So properties that convert better, they keep performing better, right? So it is the positive bias, right? So it is reinforced, right? So if you're not getting traction, you know, chances are that okay, whoever is getting traction is going doing that exponentially, right? So that works for Airbnb, works for Vrbo, works for Booking.com. You can expect to work for Google as well, right? So properties that convert better, will perform better. So but pay attention to content because this is one of the things that is on your control. So I would recommend you pay a lot of attention and spend a lot of time adding a lot of content, right? Go over more questions here. Yeah, Ellie is asking, thank you for the question, Ellie. I believe you probably missed that part, of well, when we were discussing that, right? I have had a Google business page and a Google website for a while and set up a booking engine and Google VR a couple of weeks ago. I've noticed that they're not they're not the same. Yes, they're not the same. We have already discussed they're different platforms, right? So Google Business is one platform, Google Vacation Rental is a different platform, right? They do not merge, right? That's a Google business decision, that they have decided to go that way, right? So there is no way to connect both, right? So it is just different business, right? So when you're on Google Business, you're promoting your business. When you're on Google Vacation Rental, you're promoting your brand. That's why the logo thing, different. You cannot claim, a place, right? There is no place to be claimed on Google Vacation Rental. As a business, in your experience, you know, right? So you went there and you claim and you own it, right? And you can even update information and everything and how people are seeing and finding a place, you know. But on Google Vacation Rental, you're supposed to have a booking engine behind you, right? So it's not something that you can go to Google Vacation Rental. There is no place that you can add a content and say, no, I don't want to work with a PMS. I just want to go there and do that and create my page. I don't know if you try to do that, but you notice that that's not available there, right? So booking engine is the only way to have information being pushed there. Either that or they collect information, you know, from other OTAs and work as a meta search, right? So different ways, but then it is indirectly, right? So then the reservation would come through booking.com, for example. Okay, but thanks for the question. All right. So going back here. Okay, someone is who is it? Sorry, who was Steve? Thanks, Steve. Steve is asking if we can create more than one booking engine. Yes, we can, right? So we can add here. I add a booking engine. As you can see, right? I had the draft, you know, and then I created a new one, and then I can add a new one, right? So I can call anything, and I can, right? So then you can have more than one. Let's say you're a property manager managing different brands. Yes, you can do that, right? So, and it will go to different places, right? So, and then you can have, like, for example, if I select draft, just to show you the difference, you see, I have the placeholder, you know, image that we have on Hostaway. When you got started, you know, the image that you see, right? So that it is, right? So you can customize it completely different look and feel, everything, right? Without any information. So then this is the difference, right? So then you would select different listings to be pushed to different places, right? So that would be the objective of doing that, right? So then you can select, for example, the example that I gave, like the property owner owns listing B and C, and then you can create one website just for, you know, this property owner listings and another one for other property owners, for example, right? And same thing would apply, right? So everything that is here will be a different one, right? So almost a completely different one that will be pushed, okay? Then when you're pushing to Google Vacation Rentals, you will even see, you know, where it's being published. So let me go back. I believe who was asking me that? I think was Edward, right? So then, yeah, you can publish this once, you know, separately, right? So at the end of the day, it will be listing by listing. Okay. So I believe that that would be the way to separate the listings in a different way that is a geographic. Okay, more questions here. Okay, no, uh, thank you for the question, David. And so, um, ways to make sure that you collect the money for damage deposit, right? So my suggestion, all right, so let me start from the app, right? So if I have a listing here, right, and then I go to price and fees, there are basically two ways of creating a refundable damage deposit, right? So first of all, I'm assuming that you have already considered insurance, right? That's one of them, right? So we have insurance. You can use insurance to make sure that, you don't have a headache. You have decided to go with refundable damage deposit. We have two options, right? So we have one option that is the amount, let's say it's $100. We have the option of excluding from the reservation sum, which is the one that I recommend or not, right? So if you don't, what is going to happen? When you see the price, when the guest sees the price, on the front end, they will see, let's say the total cost was $800 plus $100 of refundable damage deposit, assuming there was no tax, it was $900, right? So you got more expensive and you had to pay for the processing fees, of this $100. And at the end, you still have to refund the gas, right? So it is costly and difficult to manage, right? So my suggestion, when we are dealing with is to exclude that from the reservation sum, right? So whatever value it is. And then on gas payment here, you select an auto payment. We have one charge, right? So the way, let me put it, remaining balance, I'm going to save, let's confirm. So the way it is, I'm going to charge 100% of the reservation 1 hour after the reservation. And then you can add here a pre-authorization, right? So, and then we can put here a flat because I added the value of 100, and then I can select that maybe 2 days, before the check-in, before the checkout, right? I will set up a pre-authorization, right? I will place a hold on the gas credit card. Why is that better, right? First of all, there is less friction. Your price is not increased by, and I'm saying 100. 100, most cases doesn't cover anything, right? So unless it is a very inexpensive listing, it doesn't cover anything, right? So it could be $1,000 or $2,000, which might scare the guest, right? On oh wow, that much money, and then what if I don't break anything, and that property, manager just keep my money. So long story short, if you place a hold, that hold, and by placing a hold, I'm saying automatically placing a hold, right? Like that 2 days before the checkout. And add this information on all the instructions, on the check-in, on the confirmation. So the guest will see that information. It will see that it's just a hold, and it will be automatically released by Stripe without any additional cost and without any operational work from your side on having to refund the gas, having to remember, having to check. Why 2 days before checkout? That's usually what we recommend because Stripe keeps the hold for up to 7 days, and then they automatically release. If we set up for 2 days before checkout, we have time for the cleaner to go and clean the place and identify if there was a damage at the place, right? So then if there was any damage, you can go on the reservation. You will be able to see on the reservations, get to gas payment. So you see a hold, right, on the reservation, and you will be able to take that hold and capture that amount, right? Because there is a hold on that. So that would be the way that I recommend you to do it. If you're going to work with a damage deposit, this is the best practice that I recommend, right? So you would be able to see if you had that, right, on as a hold, you would see a row below here. Instead of charge, you will see a hold, right? The amount, and then you have the 3 dots. And then instead of charging the card, it's just a technical name. They say capture, on Stripe. Then you capture the amount equivalent. Okay, let's say if you had a $2,000 or $100, you capture whatever amount was necessary to pay for the damage that the guest left. Okay. Well, I hope that helped. Again, if you have more questions, if some things you still would like to have a one-on-one, with one of our agents, I'm sharing again, maybe you need additional help, you need someone to check, one specific case, just please fill out the form. All you need is your email, your account ID that you can find here on settings. This is your account ID, right? And your name, and it could be other, right? I have some boxes here. Just type other, explain what you're looking for, what kind of assistance you need, and I will make sure that I get an agent, to support with that. Okay. Well, we are running out of time, and I appreciate, all the questions, all your engagement, and your time, spending your time here with me. And I hope you have a great week ahead of you. I see you next week. Okay. Thanks so much.